Just give me a bit in the paper because I'm paying. What the what? What the money reside? What the money reside? What the money reside? What the money reside? Okay, I told y'all before. Y'all know that I get all these good deals and everything else. Y'all better ask about me.
All right, we are live, man. What's good? Welcome to episode 2. Let me back for y'all. Welcome to episode 2 of the Let's Talk Tech podcast, where I'm your host, HD. And we got Miss HM in the building, aka Shari Mitchell. Go ahead and tell the people where you're from, what you do for a living, real quick.
I am originally from Maryland, born and raised. Went to school in Pennsylvania. Currently living in Texas and full-time. You can sum up what I do as like a data protection strategist.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Everybody, when y'all come in here, appreciate everybody's watching right now. Y'all make sure you hit the like button. Share this out, social media, where you're watching on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Share it out so you can help me get some more streams. And then remember, I appreciate everything that y'all do. But for y'all don't know, this thing is supposed to have been happening for this. This is a busy woman, y'all. We supposed to have been did this like 2 months ago. Literally. But
yes.
Let me see, everything's going so fast, but if I'm not mistaken, we had MLK Day on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had the inauguration. Which
my job honored as a holiday. So everybody in the US got that day off, which that's amazing.
See, and we didn't.
Mean, it's a little bit, but that's a start.
Yeah, we didn't. We actually, our job gave us like our own like black space to do talk about that stuff.
Okay.
And one of the discussions was like, do we want MLK Day for a company holiday, or do we want Juneteenth as as a holiday?
Why not both?
I mean, no, we was bringing in both, but we were trying to see which one they'd be more inclined to give us. So that's kind of one of the discussions we had.
Okay.
I mean, it was a slow day. I worked. Well, I mean, hardly working, but technically I worked. But then I seen a lot of tweets about now that we had like MLK Day, and then now we had the inauguration with Biden and Kamala, which I really didn't watch. I just saw the pictures.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. No shade. I'm not into. That's not my jazz. Why y'all over there distracted? I'm over here making moves. That's just what that is.
Yeah. Well, for me, I mean, I went to Obama's first inauguration, so now I really don't care to watch any of them. I know people are here to be like, oh, but I mean, at this point, cool.
It's history, and we're still a part of it as long as you're aware. Like you said, you saw the pictures. I pretty much felt like I watched that bitch, like I was there.
Yeah, so. I know, like people was more so talking about, how they say, Michelle coming there slaying, and there's like, oh, we see you, First Lady.
She was bad.
J-Lo can't sing as usual. George Bush crush on Michelle. He always find her some type of way.
He gonna always find Michelle.
Yeah, so I mean all that stuff, but I mean I went to the inauguration. It was super cold. Like I'm from the South. I wasn't ready for that. Hand warmers and all that didn't make up for that. And I want to say that might have been like one of the biggest like inaugurations ever. I'm gonna have to go fact check that one day, or maybe I'll come back on here. But
I mean, it's a historical moment in so many ways. So
we took a charter bus. We took a charter bus, and we had some older people with us thinking about, because they would never think they would see something like that, and they ended up getting lost. Actually, they got lost coming back to the bus, and yeah, that was pretty much it for that. Now I'm just like this, I don't vote. I'm not like I don't have a party. I vote for my personal interests, or who has the best, who has the best set of agendas or plans for the country, and that's what I pretty much did when it came down to this. Now you just got to hold everybody accountable for what they said they're going to do, because it's pretty much days of the okie doke is over.
Yeah, but they're going to try to pull it. Trust me. It's already like there's somebody in this Black Austin's group that's literally counting how many orders have been passed that have not affected Black people. So as far as like, how many are we going to get to that's getting passed until one is specifically for Black people? So we'll see. Man, they're talking about everybody else.
Yeah, no, I did see that Biden, he did extend, I think, like, you know, not having to pay your loans till like October, which
That's for everybody though.
yeah, definitely. I mean, look,
they're doing good things. If nobody, like, if they, you know, advance the country, that's great. But
listen, just erase all the loans. All you gotta do is go in there, all the columns, and just hit delete, fam. That way people can go buy houses and other stuff. I'm like, we get it. I mean, y'all shouldn't have been giving kids that much money anyway and profiting off the loans if they want to keep it a bean. You know, charging people interest on stuff they use to better themselves. Now I get it. If you didn't graduate and you just went to go, that's a little different. But if you went to graduate, then you should only have to pay like 10% back. Maybe they do something like that. But let's kind of get into some other things about you. You know, type of music you like to listen to, movies, food. And of course, I think I listed some of your hobbies in the description, but you can let the people know who haven't looked at the description about some of your hobbies and stuff as well.
Okay, let's see. Where do I start? First of all, I love yoga. I think that that's a necessary hobby because I sit in front of a computer all day and it's good to breathe life into my body and I always feel great afterwards. So that's just a reminder that to be in the present. So I always love doing that. Let's see what else I put in there, you know, I like going to brunch, hanging out with my girls. I miss that. The pandemic done slowed that down. I'm sure a lot of people wish they could socialize. That's like this pandemic. Virtual meetings, they cool, but they not doing it. But man, what else do? I don't even know what else I'll be doing. Let's see. One random, it's like a self-care thing, which is something that not a lot of people know about, which is floating. Have you ever heard of floating?
I think I have. It's like you go somewhere, like you're in the water and it's dark and like there for like 30, 40 minutes or something like that. Yeah, I've seen that. I want to try it out.
Highly recommend it.
Like, so how does that go? Like, what you do? You just...
So it's like a sensory deprivation experience. So you're in this pod and it's concentrated with salt water, Epsom salt water, and you lay down and it's like 4 inches. So it's not even deep, but the salt allows you to, it allows it to be more buoyant. So you float a lot easier. So you just lay on your back and you literally lay there for an hour and your only job while you're there is to relax, to let go, to just acknowledge any thoughts that come in and let them pass. And what happens is it's a mental thing that happens in a good way, but also athletes who have injuries or just people in general who have injuries or suffer from back pain or a lot of other ailments, if they make floating a regular part of their routine, they actually might notice some difference in their health. So my dad, when he came to visit me, maybe like 2 years ago, he got an injury when he was like a kid in high school. And I made my parents go float. I was like, I found this great thing. Y'all are going to do it. And 2 months after he had gone floating, he didn't have to wear his brace. Of course, you know, it's not a permanent fix, but for 2 months, not having to wear a brace for a knee injury that you got to wear a brace for like every day. Like, yeah, that's pretty significant, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm definitely gonna try that out when I get back to Dallas because I think they do got it in Dallas. So I'm definitely gonna try that out. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Let's get into some more things. You know, as far as you know, every woman out here. We got some fellas in here or whatever. But as far as, you know, marital status, you know, what is that looking like for you right now?
Single as a dollar bill. Ain't nobody ever ready to handle all this, you know what I'm saying? Meg said, handle me, who gonna handle me? Okay.
You sure? You sure you're not? You sure they not ready or you not ready?
Oh, I am beyond ready, but I'm at a level mentally that people can't meet me at. So I've come to that realization. And I have a therapist, which is actually why I'm wearing this shirt right now, because mental health is a real thing. And we all need to take our mental health into our own hands. But I actively see a therapist and I made sure that I was doing what I need to be doing, basically. The work that we all need to do, which is introspection and you know, making sure that we're happy with the decisions that we make. And, you know, I go in each situation with no expectations really, but you know, people just show their ass, and then the society that, sorry, I don't know if I'm be allowed to cuss, but
you good.
But yeah, in the society that we in, like, people don't heal, and I'm not healing anybody. I'm not, you know, I don't have no kids. I'm not doing any of those things. So that's what a lot of these relations or situationships require, or that's what they used to getting from other people's, and I'm just not there. So I'll be single until I find somebody that match my level. But I've been ready.
Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? But I feel you on the therapist thing. I've been to therapy. I enjoy it. Anytime I'm down or I need somebody to talk to, I always just schedule a session and we just do it like that. Yeah, definitely very beneficial. All Black people definitely should have a therapist. Matter of fact, we should get free therapy for life, but that's another subject.
We should. And speak on it for men too, because Black men have a very hard time taking that step to go see therapists.
Yeah, I mean, just to touch on it, teensy bit is like, I mean, they portray it great in the shows. Like, for example, one of my favorite shows, The Chi. The little boy Kevin witnessed a lot on The Chi. And his mom, you know, sent him to go to therapy. And the first thing he came out of his mouth was like, I ain't going to therapy. That's for white people. So that's, you know, that's one of the negative connotations that's, you know, connected to getting therapy, along with, you know, Black men not supposed to show feelings and stuff like that. How y'all like to say toxic masculinity. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff to unpack when it comes to, you know, the male ego and things like that. But that'll be like a 3-hour session.
Sure.
But you know, I think you already told everybody you currently live in Texas, and I believe you told them where you from. So you
DMV.
Okay, DMV. So you listen to
the other, you know, people.
So you listen to what's that music called? Go-Go. What's that music called?
I don't particularly listen to it, but that's what I grew up on. Yes, it's Go-Go. Okay. And that is very specific to DC.
Yeah, because I know when Wale like kind of first came out, I didn't know about Go-Go until like I started like working with some people that was from the area, and then they would show me stuff. It's like, oh, okay, that sound, I see why he did that. But that's what's up. Did you say what college you went to in Pennsylvania?
Penn State.
Oh, okay, Penn State. Okay, yes. what they Nittany Lions?
Nittany Lions, yes.
Did you get a chance to go to any of the football games and stuff like that?
I went to a couple because I'm not really a big sports person, but of course you have to go to a game there, and it's lit. Like, so I went the couple times I went. One was like I was way far away, like not in good seats, and then the other time I was in the student section, so I got both experiences. And even from far away, it was still dope. But the student section is live.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's for anybody. Like,
sure.
A lot of women don't like sports, but I always say, just go to an live event, and you're gonna be like, even though I don't like this is enjoyable being here, just because you're in the action and stuff like that. Whether it's a big school or a small school, most of the time you should have fun, especially if your team is winning.
Yeah.
So I remember. So for the people who haven't watched my channel, I did this thing. With my company and her company, which shall remain nameless, unless you go back and watch the video. But it was entitled "You Got the Job Now What?" And that was pretty much a panel that we did, I think, for some of the cybersecurity students at University of Texas.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was University of Texas, and we were just talking about things about, you know, pretty much how you stick out on the job and how you succeed and how you move up the ladder. But before we get there, let's talk about what was your major. First of all, like, what made you choose your major in college? And then kind of like that process of like, you know, what was your college experience like? And then we'll get into, you know, your job search after college.
Yeah. So I actually started as an engineering major. And the most boringest of all engineering majors, material science and engineering, like, what the fuck is that? But it was actually interesting because it's like what everything is made out of. It's just like understanding materials. So I did find it interesting, but the realization of the type of job I would have after pursuing a degree like that, I was like, I'm gonna be bored for the rest of my life. Like I'm gonna be in a lab looking at materials. But anyways, so literally in my senior year, I decided to change my major. And I only had one thing that I wanted to change my major to. And I looked at all the other different options that my school had to offer, the different courses, what courses I would like. I could have easily switched to something technical because I had a lot of technical credits within pursuing an engineering degree. But like I said, it was only like cybersecurity that I was interested in. And specifically, my aunt was in IT and she was telling me about, jobs and how that's a booming business, which is important to always, have people in your corner that are in the workforce that know, what's going on there. But yeah, I had to literally prove myself because most people that go through a university, typically they don't allow you to change your major in your last year. So I had to really work hard to prove why I deserved to change my major and that it was going to be beneficial for them. So anyways, I did all that. And that was literally the best decision that I made in my life. One, I met one of my closest friends. We're still friends to this day. But also, like, I've had a career experience that is very unique and not like any other. So
yeah,
I don't know if you want me to go into the other things, but go ahead.
We'll get into that. But I like what you said about, your aunt gave you some guidance, because a lot of people pretty much, it was something that came up on LinkedIn, especially they was like, oh, do you think you need a degree to be in tech or not? Why not? And, I gave my, reasons for, like, honestly, I don't think you need one, but 10 years ago, entering into school, I was like, oh, go to school, get a degree. Mm-hmm. But a lot of us, some of us are like first generation college students. A lot of people in our immediate family didn't go to school, nor are they in STEM majors. And they don't necessarily know how to give us the guidance on, like, how you pick a major. Besides if you're going to go say, oh, I want to go to med school, I want to be a nurse or something or a teacher or something like, like your path is not easy because that stuff is hard, but I'm saying like it's literally straight through to the point. Oh, you do your clinicals, boom, you'll be a nurse somewhere. Or you want to be whatever type of doctor, you go do your what is it called, residency, I believe, and you're gonna be a doctor somewhere. But when it comes to other majors, like if we just bring into like how broad being in tech is, it's not that clear cut. In my video, I brought up, I just thought about like stuff I like to do, and then I went to the College of Business and saw like the salaries. They were pretty much projecting for people in like whatever major I chose for. I think I chose CIS. So I chose computer information systems. And I said, it's like it's going to be a need, let me do that. But at the same time, before then, I didn't have anybody that said, oh, you should go, major in this, or this is what you need to do when you're in college. So a lot of times, even when you're in college, you still don't have anybody you can lean on that can help you along the way. Kind of like now, the difference is with me, since I've been through it, most of the time in college, kids or last week, how I had Dayspring on here, he's able to hit me up and say, hey, what do you think about this or that? And I'm able to give him sound advice because, I went through that, what I'm saying, pretty much without Shepherd. And now I'm a Shepherd. So I think that was pretty cool. Let's talk about, so you changed your major late. Did that push you back any, or did you still graduate on time? How did that go?
I technically still graduated on time because I was going to do an extra year anyway. So it just allowed me to use that extra time more productively, I would say. But it didn't really delay me. And also another thing I did to make sure that I wasn't delayed, I took summer classes. So I took a lot of starter courses like the summer before I technically was declared in the major. So yeah, I was on track to graduate when I was supposed to.
Okay, so I'm going to presume at Penn State, y'all had good enough career resources to help you, like, career fairs, try to find jobs, resumes, and things like that. I know they had that. Tell me about, did you utilize those things while you were in school?
So I would say the biggest thing that I utilized was NSBE. National Society of Black Engineers. And a lot of those soft skills that you talk about when you're going up to the career fair, they gave you the pre-work before that, if that makes sense. And I'm sure that there were other resources around the school, but that's one that I found to be most useful. One, they're technical people, and then they look like me. So it was a no-brainer. But that organization, like anybody who's a part of that, like the skills that you learn from being a part of NSBE is just, I definitely didn't understand before, but like in hindsight, there's so many things that I learned from participating and taking leadership roles, and all of that has helped me in my career and even things that I know I'll do in the future. So having that support, even if it's not NSBE, but there's SHIP, so that's for like Hispanics, and then there's SWE for women. So whatever organization that you can find alongside your university is only going to help you in the long run.
That's good. For me, I always talk about all the time, but I went to school in Louisiana, and tech really was like an afterthought of my university. It was an engineering school. So everyone mostly came to Louisiana Tech if you want to be like an engineer, because that's what they're big on. That's where like they get a lot of their money donated from the professors and all that. So they randomly had people at the career fair for us. Even when it came to them doing our resumes, it really was like the same resumes for everybody, which what I would tell people is what you need to know now is it's a slight distinction on like every tech resume isn't going to look the same, but they'll highlight different things that other resumes don't. And with a general resume, it doesn't help you stand out much. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking, of course you can utilize the career services, but if you are in college, look to someone that's been in tech, or go online and check your resources for someone that's in tech to look over your resume to help you out, because sometimes they'll have someone that used to teach English or something like that do the resume class, which, you know, they know how to structure it well, but it doesn't really help you any. And I ran into that too. Like everyone had pretty much the same kind of format, you know, for their resume, which it wasn't bad, but it didn't really stick out. It was just like, oh, it's nice. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah, it's like people are just following the suit of the way things are supposed to go instead of actually, you know, putting your personality into it. I think a lot of companies really want to see that. They don't want to just see cookie cutter, same thing, because that's boring. Like we see that every day at work. So to have to go through resumes that's all the same, they might look over important details that should stand out. So it's like, if you have those things, make sure that they're highlighted and it looks different. And you can, like you said, go to any resource, have somebody look over it, and have a professional, somebody who's in, you know, and it doesn't matter even what they do, but as long as they are professional and they're in the workforce, they can give you criticism on your resume.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely believe that for sure. Definitely. Let me get into some of the other stuff I want to ask you. So let's flash forward to, okay, you graduated and now, well, let me backtrack. Did you do any internships while you were in college?
Yes, I did do one at Johnson & Johnson.
Okay. Like to share that experience with us?
Sure. It was, I mean, I don't know that I have much to say because the work that I was doing, I don't even really know if I understood it. But I think that is just an intern thing. It's like you're only there for a short period of time. They're not going to give you a major project. So the stuff that they give you is like little crappy stuff anyway. So I was just like, but the cool thing about it was just understanding the company and even the company structure, like how corporations work. That was probably the biggest lesson that I learned from my internship, the hierarchy of things and just the difference of how the leaders make of the organization, especially the company that I work for, like, and it's no shade to my internship, but there's some organizational things that happen in my internship that I don't have to deal with, you know, in the role that I'm in now. So it's just interesting to see the differences. The way culture really does matter. Like when you're picking a company to spend 40 hours a week working for, you want to make sure that their culture matches and aligns with how you see your life going. Like if you want to be working 80 hours out of that 40 hours, then, you know, cool. But if you want to actually have time to have a work-life balance, those are things that need to come up in the conversation.
Definitely. Yeah, the more companies you work at, you'll see the differences. And that's why sometimes you'll see once they bring in some, you know, new blood, younger people or fresh ideas, you know, you'll start to see the culture turn around slowly but surely. That definitely helps. And I also feel on their work-life balance. I also feel like a lot of companies now are getting to the point where as long as you do the stuff you need to do that day, they really aren't too concerned about what you're doing the whole day. As long as the important stuff is done. And I think that's great because a lot of times back in the day, they'll try to base it off of, you know, per hour or you're working like this or whatever. But it's really more so, hey, you need me to do these things. Like just pay me for what I do because we already know how much money I make you. So it really doesn't matter. As long as I do what I got to do, we should be good to go. But so the Johnson & Johnson internship, that was your only internship or?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was that like the summer before like your last year? Okay. Because I was going to ask if you, I know some people have did like multiple internships during college or they did the same internship like every summer until like they graduated and stuff.
Well, keep in mind, I changed my major. So I didn't like, even if I had an internship, it would have been in something, I don't even know what. I probably couldn't even think of what I would get an internship in. And I probably needed one. But I think once I had that realization, because that was a big thing for me, like in school, I was like, I definitely need an internship before I leave. Because that work experience matters. It really just does. But it really does. Oops, sorry, my dog down here over here kicking him. But yeah, definitely that work experience is better. And even like people who don't want to go to school, like work experience is always better, I think.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the problem that is pretty much troubling, you know, people that's either entry level or whatever, is them like, okay, you got an entry level job, that's BS because somebody in HR said you need 4 years of experience to do an entry level job, which you don't. And now you're telling the people, oh, well, you're cool, but you don't have enough experience. And the person that comes like, well, how do I get experience without getting a job? And it's been an ongoing cycle. I'm starting to see HR kind of change a lot of job descriptions because they realize they're unrealistic.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's go into you know, to lighten the mood before we keep on going into everything because I forgot to say it earlier. But before we went live, we were talking about like these challenges and guys, I wish I could have played the music on the live, but my live would have got flagged. But you know, we had Miss Mitchell over here. She was doing the June bug challenge. And, you know, the people are wondering, you know, are you going to post your June bug challenge to your Instagram?
I may. Just so here's the thing. I'm currently planning a girls trip to either Hawaii or Miami, and I'm gonna do the June bug challenge there. So that won't be till April, but the suspense part.
Would I be guessing right if I figured your birthday or one of y'all's birthdays is in April?
One of my girlfriends.
Okay. April what?
2nd. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Aries.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an Aries.
Yes. Aries, y'all are cool.
And then, so, all right, since it's going to be a girl trip, are y'all going to do like, well, it'd probably be a new challenge by then, but I'm going to say, y'all going to do like a group busted challenge?
No, I'm not doing that.
Why not? You think your boss going to see it?
No, I don't care about those types of things. And my boss probably would be laughing at it. She's so dope. But no, I don't be hopping on fads like that. But that June bug challenge, I'm gonna do that because that shit is so funny. Like, you could just act a fool like anywhere, and it's just dope. But anyways, the busted challenge, I think like the creativity that's come out of it, aside from me looking, you know, just regular and then dropping it low and then, you know, looking bump. First of all, I don't even wear makeup. I'm natural, like 100% of the time.
All right,
So
Alicia Keys.
yeah, Alicia Keys ain't do no busted challenge, although she would probably kill it. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna do the June bug challenge. I ain't doing the busted challenge, but the ones that's creative, like how we were seeing the boyfriend getting jealous of the girlfriend doing the busted challenge. That's dope. Then there was this Indian one where she was, you couldn't even tell she was Indian at first, but then she dropped it low, had the whole shebang, like bad. That's what I'm saying. Like I can't compete with that, and I don't want to, because let that one ride. So yeah, I don't be doing all that.
Let you tell it. But speaking of that, we'll segue into going back to what we were talking about. We was trying to lighten the mood a little bit. So let's talk about your job search after you graduated. How did that go? Did you like interview for or did you apply to a lot of positions and only interview for a slim amount, or what? How did that go?
Yeah, so it was my last year, my senior year. I started in my fall semester, applying to jobs. And I don't even know how many I applied to, if I'm being honest, but I can tell you the whole fall semester, all I heard was no. They would bring me out to the campus, second round, third round interviews. You know, I went to so many hotels, like I was traveling, like I was definitely like, it was a good experience, but it was still frustrating because I'm like, it's with a purpose. You know, I'm supposed to be getting a job or, you know, offers at least out of this. And I wasn't getting it. Even like one company, I applied one semester and the next semester, and they gave me second round interviews both times. And I'm like, y'all should have just not had me come the second time. Like, don't waste my time. But anyways, and then the thing that I'll say before I go into it is, what is for you, period.
Hey,
like,
that's big facts.
It's big facts. It really is. Like, we try to force things and make things happen, and whatever is for you is going to be for you. So after me being frustrated, of course you couldn't tell me that at the time, but after being frustrated, I went to my spring career fair. So, you know, this is the next round, and I'm like, I gotta find a job now because I'm about to graduate. So I need to make sure I'm set after I graduate. And go to the career fair, and they had like 2 floors, and I started at the top floor, and I'm exhausted talking to people, and I go to the bottom floor, and I talk to this guy, and he's representing this company, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? You know, just giving my personality, letting him know why I was there, what I wanted to do, And he was like, okay, I want to meet up with you tomorrow. I'm thinking it's like a interview on the spot type of thing. Cause that's not how that worked at my college. Like, they would talk to you at the career fairs, and then they would spend the next couple of days interviewing candidates and stuff like that. So he invited me to this other building across campus. And when he met me there, it was like some other people there. He's like, yeah, I just brought you here to let you know that you got the job. And I was like, okay. Like, I literally had a 5-minute conversation with him. I didn't interview. I barely even applied. Like, I did apply, but it's just crazy. And that moment was so pivotal because one, it brought me halfway across the country. I never even thought I would be in Texas. But my very first project, and it's that energy. And that's why I say what's for you will be for you, because the project that I had, my very first project, which is why this man, he saw the energy and knew that project needed me, if that makes any type of sense. But they was looking for me, just didn't know who I was. But then they found me, and that's why he was like, okay. But anyways, so the person that I worked with in my first project, like, still to this day, I report to her. Like, she's been the most pivotal person in my career, and meeting her in the very start of my career, I don't even know if I have the words of how crazy amazing that's been for my life. And that's all from all of the no's that I heard, you know, beforehand, and just keep pushing through, because I could have been like, oh, I'll go live back home with my parents in spring semester and not even apply, in the spring. But I kept pushing through, and it paid off. There's a yes at the end of all the no's somewhere.
Hey, and the one I think I said in my last video that I did, I forgot what it was actually. It was titled, "Guys, if you made it this far, or you on the stream, if you want to jump out, I got a video called 100 Jobs Told Me No," and I still had a sheet. It's gonna be in the ebook, but yeah, over 100 jobs told me no. I was keeping track of like everything I applied to. Speaking of, if you want a free job tracker to help you with your job search, raise your hand and say me, or put your email in the chat, and I will send you my job tracker that I send to my clients. But back to what I was talking about. It was pretty much like that with me. It's like I kind of went through most of my no phase, even going through BS interview processes where I'm like interviewed like 3-4 times to tell me I had the job and then ghost me, to finally getting, I think I got one of my first offers in like May of 2018. And technically it was lower than what I was making at first, but then right after that offer, it was like I accepted it, but I didn't sign anything. So it's like a verbal acceptance. The company I'm with now had called me and interviewed me. Well, I was supposed to, it's funny, I was supposed to interview, and the guy didn't ever call me that day. But the next day, the director said, "Yeah, I think you talked to so-and-so, and hey, I want to offer you." And he was like, so what you was making at your last job? He said, "All right, I'll offer you X amount more than that." I was like, "Bet." When I'm starting, he was like, 2 weeks. I said, "Say less." And literally, just like you said, that energy, this has been the best company that I worked at, honestly. Just from, I've gotten a raise every year. I've pretty much gotten a shine. So it's not one of those companies where like if you don't, do good, they don't recognize you. And that's really what it's about a lot of times. And, I had people that look like me on my team, and a director, that look like me as well. So all that stuff is very important, because some people don't understand. It's like when I was interviewing, I never interviewed with anybody that looked like me. And that's kind of what something that Dayspring and I were talking about today when we were texting. It's like, he's like, "Yeah, I'm the only Black person at work, and I haven't interviewed with nobody that looked like me." And I was like, I know the feeling. I've been through it. It's kind of like, it's a little bit sometimes like you feel like when you're interviewing and nobody looks like you, you feel like they just interviewed you, but they don't really want you.
Yeah.
And some people like, "Oh, no, you're trying to play the race card." I'm like, "Nah, man." Sometimes it felt like they didn't want me. Like I'll go into an interview like, no, like everybody's white. And so like, and not white, but like really white, like older white people that aren't progressive.
I mean, they had to fit a quota legally.
Yeah.
So
that's
some people, they did that. You felt that way because that's what it was. And they try to put a veil over it. They don't discriminate or hire based on race. Like there's this whole thing, like, but in reality, they just fit in quotas. Not anymore. Well, I think probably still, but I think that people are trying to excel that quota, so they're not being called out or just meeting the quota. There was actually a quote in this ethics training that I remember, and it was a Black executive, and she said, "I'll know that it's a diverse, and she'll know it's a diverse company when she does not know all of the Black executives' names. She doesn't even know them all. But right now, you can count them all on one hand. And the white executives, they don't know each other. There's plenty of them that don't know each other. But we don't have that same thing because it's not the same. But we know that, so we preaching to the choir."
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and like, I had a job tell me I was the best candidate, but they gonna go somewhere else, and I was like, that don't make sense. And
video went black, by the way.
Yeah, I know. It's the thing. Okay. So I lasted longer than I thought I would with that. Let me go to the backup. All right. But also, now that you said that, you said something about knowing all the Black execs. I made a comment like we have a Black employee network group that the company pretty much recognized for us, and like gave us like a what's the thing called? They gave us a scholarship and everything for that group, you know, so they actually recognized us on MLK Day. But I asked a question, I posed a question, said, hey, do y'all think anybody like us is ever going to get, you know, be announced as a C-level exec? And they were like, you know what, we really don't know. And
the other question is, do you want to? Like, for real, do you want to?
I think I would, you know, I mean, it's a lot that come with it, but, you know, it's just that, like we say, representation matters. You know how all the girls and stuff like that were looking at Kamala Harris and you know, and things like that, or how they looked at Barack. It's just representation. Like, it's not many Black C-level execs, you know, and a lot of times they're very capable, but what you end up seeing happen is, you know, their white or whatever non-white counterparts have had like a leg up to where they've been C-level at other companies, and all they do is just rotate them out to the next company. That's pretty much what's happening. It's a similar stuff that happens in football, or basketball. One white coach get fired and he gets hired somewhere else where like the up and coming, you know, Black coach really didn't get a chance. They might make him like over offense or like a assistant coach, but he doesn't really. It takes a lot for him to get that head coach position. Or if he does get one, he's on a short lease. He has to win now, and he never really have the requisite parts to succeed.
Yeah.
But to, you know, to get off some of them politics that we know about. Let's see. I remember you said you did a rotational program at your company. So how long did you do the rotational program?
It was 2 years.
And what roles did you get to do when you did the rotational program?
So the first project I worked on, which was really cool, my company had just launched Google search engine internally. So what that meant was you could search all kinds of stuff, stuff that you probably shouldn't be finding. So my role was to really clean that space up. And we end up decommissioning those sites, but also putting in governance controls in place so we don't have those types of mishaps. You know, our sensitive data is actually being protected and maintained. So that was a really cool project, and obviously, like, that's very on par with what I'm doing right now. So, like I said, that woman that I met has been extremely pivotal. My second role, I actually did I was on 3 different teams. My second role was more operations, very technical. It was called like threat monitoring and logging. So it was extremely technical, way above my head. Like, I had no business being there. But because of reorganizations that happen in companies, you know, that was an opening that I jumped towards, because early on in my career, getting a security position was like, in my head, it's damn near impossible. Like, you got to have like 5 years of experience to be in any security role. So I'm like, oh, I'm finna do that. And I'm a can-do type of person. So I know that I can learn pretty quick, but that was very technical. But that's a part of the rotational program. You know, you get to try stuff and fail forward. So then my last role, which was one that I really enjoyed, I worked in like the financial part of it, but still had an IT cybersecurity feel to my role. So I think the most important thing that I would say out of all of this is, no matter what or who you report to, if your passion is somewhere else, tell them that shit. Like, don't hold it back. Don't wish you were somewhere else. Because what happened with me in my career, like, I was doing something that I didn't necessarily care to do, but because I expressed that I liked security and I was interested in IT, they had other things that maybe the team could have been doing better in those areas, and I was able to kind of pick up the slack there. So if I never mentioned that to my manager, I might not have been able to do those things. So that was a really cool eye-opening experience, because our financial services works flawlessly. So to be a part of that, understanding how applications are developed, supported, deployed, you know, how changes are made in the environment, that whole process behind the scenes, like, it's crazy. But one that opened my eyes to a lot. So those were my 3 main which was pretty significant experience for a rotational program, I think.
Man, that's dope because I kind of like would make an analogy towards like being kids or whatever. Like you don't really know what you like until you try it. Mm-hmm. So the fact in the rotational program, which I think is so great, is it lets you try your hand at different roles to see which ones are the best fit for you. And that's pretty good because I still have had, you know, friends who've been doing roles, who've been in like tech or whatever roles, and they were like, I honestly don't know what I want to do. I really don't think I like this, but you know, I mean, it's what pays the bills, but I don't really have a shot at doing anything else. And honestly, unless somebody just knows what they want to do, it might not be a bad idea for companies to pretty much offer more rotational programs for younger, you know, maybe I've had this theory to where like tech majors and things like that needs their own clinicals. Maybe instead of making us retake classes we took in high school, our first 2 years, you make us take our tech classes in the last 2 years. We use like an IT rotational clinical thing to where now we figure out what we want to do when we come out of school.
Yeah,
I think that'd be money well spent instead of making us pretty much not showing us a lot. I'm not gonna lie, not really. You teach them stuff, but we can't really keep it in our brains because the next semester is a whole new set of crap that we're gonna be working on, and that's one of the bigger issues of school as well.
It's not conducive to all the different types of learning. Everybody learns, or you know, not everybody learns the same. So it's like a cookie cutter way to force feed information to people.
Right. Let's see. So let's go ahead and touch on like how long have you been in this last role? This current role that you're doing now.
It's been like a little over 2 years now.
2 years, okay. And tell us your title and then tell us what it is in layman's terms.
Yeah, I'm a compliance advisor by my title, but I basically put different strategies in place for data protection. Okay. So what that looks like is, you know, companies in general deal with all different types of data. Some of that's, you know, basic stuff like roadmaps, you know, where the company's going. Some of that's more proprietary, like IP, intellectual property. Some of that's customer, employee information. And we all hear about, you know, companies getting breached, Target, I think Home Depot was one also. But the X amount of companies that have data related breaches, it's really pivotal for companies to really take data protection and, you know, very seriously. So I'm grateful that my company does, but just understanding. So my company is very old. And back then they weren't thinking about data protection controls. So it's like, how do you get a large organization to shift its culture from what it's been doing, what it knows to be normal, not that it's right, but what it knows to be normal, and shifting that to having them see the value of understanding what kind of data they manage, but then also feeling empowered to really own it and protect it. So I think that was layman's terms.
Yeah, and I'll say you see that like I tell people, I got my undergrad. I finished in the fall of 2013. Cybersecurity wasn't as hot as it is now.
Right.
I think it was an afterthought for some companies, and now you see everybody ramping up. Like, probably about 9 out of 10 companies, recruiters that are in my inbox now, are looking for a hybrid of, you know. Of course, I work in a SOC, and they're looking also for a person with incident response experience, and that's because they've seen all these breaches, and they know they need help with that because they know they aren't set up to pretty much fix those things if stuff happens. So that's what they're trying to ramp up. And you know, if you guys want to know where the money resides, it's in cybersecurity right now, only because you know you got to keep that data safe. And like,
talk about data, like job security. Like you want to know you have a job for sure. Get specialized in that.
Yeah, before the pandemic, cybersecurity unemployment rate was at 0%. It's more or less around the same thing. I did some metrics on looking for that when I did some of my videos in the past. So it's more or less around the same thing because they're creating more and more jobs. It's not enough people. Well, granted, the caveat is it's actually people that know how to do it, but on paper, they don't necessarily know how to do it, but they still have more and more jobs they're creating because we have cloud, and then even with cloud's going to have come other subsets when we got, the smart cities, smart homes. You're going to have IoT devices in healthcare. It's going to be a lot of stuff. So guys, keep pushing. I know a lot of you guys are just trying to break in and get like 6 figures, but that'll come eventually. I mean, can't be greedy when you got the basics down. But let's do this because I work with people who are trying to get in the field or maybe leaving like different career, like trying to make career changes to get in the field. So could you tell me what type of people will come to your mind, like in like roles that aren't security related that you think would be good at doing compliance?
Wait, so repeat the question again.
Let's say, for instance, like I have people that's like, in the banking industry or whatever, but they like work at banks or credit unions. And I've said, hey, you may be good at like auditing or whatever. You don't know it, but I mean, you kind of do some similar things now on a lower level that you may be good at, besides knowing like the technical jargon. So I'll say, in your opinion, what type of people do you think, like whatever careers they may do, what do you think they would be good at in compliance?
Yeah, so that's just a really hard question to answer because I think anybody in banking would have the perspective of doing well in compliance because a lot of banking regulations are very stringent. So they understand, the legalities behind that. But what I've noticed in my experience, and I sat on like several panels, and one of the common themes is like everybody has a colorful background. Like nobody comes from one place. I think the main thing with compliance, cybersecurity, and IT is being adaptable and not honing in on one thing. So don't be a subject matter expert of just one thing. And if you are, just know how to get out of that and being able to adapt to do other things. Because when you become a subject matter expert and just technical, focused on this one thing, when the company no longer needs that one thing, well, then they no longer need you. So when you diversify your skills, and you can dive in, but like I said, just having that balance and that diversity is just really important. So I really don't have a particular, like, if you are this type of profession, you should also pursue this. But I think anybody who has an interest in it can and should do it. Just figure out what literature you need to read. There are certifications out there that you can get. Some super easy to get, it doesn't really take a whole lot. And then some that, like what I'm studying for, is a beast.
Are you studying for the CYSA?
CISSP.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'll put that on we'll get into some certs later. But let's do this then. Let's name like maybe 5. You kind of name some of them, but let's name like 5 things. They could just be regular things that somebody should be. Well, I don't want to give you a number now because I don't want to put you on the spot. It's like, dang, I have to think of 5. but let's say like just name some things that they should be good at, or at least be able to adapt to in order to have a successful career in compliance.
Okay.
Sorry if this felt like an interview question.
No. It's good. I would say asking a lot of questions. And there's no right or wrong. I think we get in our heads of, I don't want to ask the wrong question. But you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't ask questions, you'll never know. So that aids a lot in being adaptable. Another thing I would say is volunteering for whatever comes up. If you're in a staff meeting, or if you hear your manager or directors pushing an initiative, a campaign, really figuring out how you can get involved in that And I mean, that depends on your company's structure and culture. Mine is very, like, there's definitely a hierarchy, but I could go to my manager's manager with an idea and it wouldn't be any issue. But just putting your thoughts out there, so that way you learn more. So if you volunteer for different things, you're only expanding your skill set to be able to be adaptable. Let's see. I'm gonna do one more because 5 is kind of hard. The last thing I would say is find a mentor or a buddy. Someone who looks like you and someone who doesn't, because you'll learn from both of them. And especially someone who's been at the company for a long period of time, they might have better insight of how the company reorgs and restructures over time. So they can help you navigate some of those pits and valleys. Yeah. So I'll say those are my top 3.
Great. And those are definitely all great advice, especially when you said find a buddy, a mentor. At my job, I always cling to the person who knows more than me. And unfortunately, when our principal threat analyst, he went to a different company, but he became like not my work best friend as far as like we text each other outside work, but literally we built up that rapport to where he would come to me for the team for stuff and vice versa. He would answer me. Like some people you want to answer because like, man, they on that bull. But I showed myself to where like I was trying to learn and not always just ask myself just for asking. And that pretty much has helped me progress because he gave me some good advice on things to look into about that. So you brought up certifications. So let's say someone don't have the traditional background to go in compliance, but let's say, for instance, we got a person that's doing help desk or some crap, and they want to do compliance. What would be a cert or something like that can open their eyes up to what skills they need to work on for compliance?
Yeah, I think the basic one is like Security Plus. And I really don't even know all of them because there's so many, and it just depends on what you're interested in because they have some for cloud, they have one specifically for networking. The Security Plus, I think it's a very basic, high level certification. The CISSP, which is what I'm studying for, is very broad, so it covers a lot of topics, but it also dives down into, so you have to know about them, not just like at a high level. So
yeah,
different ranges of them, but I would say Security Plus is probably the starting point, and then from there you'll probably get the buzzword and hear other certs.
Yeah, CISSP covers some different domains. Like I know outside of CISSP, you have the CISA, and I forgot what other like lower level, because I was looking for like a lower level one that but more so
there's a
to
CISM too. That's like a security manager.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I think I was gonna get that at one point just because of I didn't really, them and CISSP are pretty much almost on the same thing when it comes to certifications when you like probably trying to get in management or whatever. Like right now for me though, I'm studying for incident response cert because that's what's hot right now, and it's helping me develop some more skills. So that's also the key, guys. When you are looking at a cert, make sure the cert, if you do have a job, will pretty much help elevate your skills at whatever job you're doing or help you get the new job. Don't get the cert just to get it and then sit on it because it won't help you much.
Yeah.
But that's just what I know from experience because I had Sec Plus and I was doing help desk for like 2 years and was not utilizing Sec Plus at all. Wasn't my fault. I was in a bad region that, they weren't really trying to hire me for security related stuff. But that's corporate politics. I made a video on that too. I make a video about everything. I got content for days coming out.
Good.
Let's talk about this. How's it feel to be like a black girl? Sorry, you're not a girl. I'm sorry. A black woman in tech.
I think my experience is very unique. of course, there's not a lot of people who look like me, but that's why I speak on the woman who I met in my very first project, because she did look like me, or she does look like me. And she had a very prominent role at the time. And now she's a Black woman as a director. She's the only one. But nonetheless, like, I get to see that firsthand. So it's mesmerizing. I thank her all the time. Like, she's so, even when she challenges me and I'm just like, oh my God, it's so frustrating, I'm just always grateful, because there's always a greater lesson on the end of whatever she's trying to push me through. So I've just been really blessed to have her. But outside of having her and being in that little bubble, that little cocoon, like, it's not many. But what I also say is, I was given the opportunity to bring somebody on board, and she does look like me, and I'm able to kind of do the same thing that my manager now did for me, for her. So just having that mentorship and showing her the ropes so she doesn't freak out, because I have to actually break some bad news to her this weekend and she ain't ready for. But just having somebody in your corner that's going to do that. Like, it's a weekend. I don't have to call her. I can wait till Monday. Right. But, our team is really a family, and really even my company, like most of the teams that I've been on, they really do try to, personally, they've always tried to include me. And I'll say not 100%, because it's not like, well, what would make you feel comfortable? Like, they do happy hours at a country bar. Like, I really would never go there on a regular day, but they're including me because they also don't have to invite me. So, I think I've had really good experiences being a Black woman in tech, but I know that that's not the case for a good amount of people. Not having somebody that looks like you, that's in your corner. That, like, I literally report to her.
as Rick Ross say, most definitely. But speaking of that, would this happen to be the woman that was on the panel with us?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, she's told. I forgot the woman in my company who brought me on. She was like, "Yeah, so and so said they were very impressed with you." I was like,
yes. And if she say that, then like that's a compliment for days. Like, she's amazing.
Yeah, it was funny. It's funny, people don't think that I get nervous because I'm always coming off as confident, but I really was nervous before that panel.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to tell. Super side note, we can keep the convo going, but can I turn the video off just real quick?
Yeah, it's fine.
It'll be back on, but go ahead.
Oh, you good? So we got into that, and I'm glad you said you had great experiences being treated right, because I have noticed where sometimes they take the complaints or concerns of y'all and kind of push them to the back burner because they kind of overlook y'all, like, yeah, it's whatever. But I'm always a guy that I try to fight for, like, my sisters. That's on the team. Like, I got a friend now on their Black woman, and I was like, hey, if you need somebody speak on your behalf, I got you. I'll put it all on the line, the risk on the line, as long as they treat you right, as long as they paying you fair and whatnot, because I already know what your white male counterparts are getting paid good. So I want you to be paid good as well. So that's how I get down. And also, to touch on what you said about getting to bring people that look like you on, I did that for two of my friends. So two of my old coworkers, two of us are currently still on the team. We're both tier 2. And then my other friend, he's been doing big things and making waves. And all of us were pretty much the best when we were there together. So you might say 3 musketeers, but that was pretty cool to kind of break that stigma, because I'm gonna keep it a beam. A lot of times people on the outside looking in try to say, like, oh, we're lazy and this and that, but not that those salt, but it ain't us. No. I know for a fact who lazy, and I know who for a fact I really don't like working with, which I won't say on here. I'll let you know in text, but I just seen some things. I was like, man, y'all tripping. Like, I'm not a manager. I'm a lead, but I'm at this point, I'm like, I shouldn't have to repeat simple things to grown men, that are getting, paid more than, enough to do this stuff. I was like, if I took somebody else pushing buggies from Target and gave them this salary, I would never have to tell them to do something again.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just don't understand it. Some of the guys on the team, I feel like they didn't take the job serious enough, but hopefully they take it serious while I'm there, because as long as I ain't there and no BS happen, I'm good.
That's what that privilege do. Makes you feel entitled.
But see, in this one, it's not even a privilege thing. This young dude is he's just too carefree, and he always think everything is a game.
But why is he carefree? Because he has the privilege to be that way.
I'll say this: our company, it's hard to let somebody go from our company. So even no matter what skin color, like we had a woman who I think used to work at y'all's company. Now I don't know necessarily with you, but she came to us and she was a nice lady. I think she more oftentimes than not had a little bit too much dip on the chip and didn't know how to let management know that I'm not, comfortable doing this and I don't understand what I'm doing. And therefore that kind of caused some issues. And I'll tell everybody, man, if you don't know what you're doing, speak up. I mean, hey, what they're gonna do? Either they're gonna show you or they're gonna let you go, but you don't want to be the reason why everybody lose their job.
No, that's real.
Let's see. We got Black in here. I think I had some stuff to ask you, and I cannot remember what it was because I asked you about. So let's go back to your CSSP real quick. How long you been studying for CSSP?
Like a year and a half.
Okay. How you scheduled your test?
Yes, I actually took my test last February, and I don't want to take it again. I need to, but I've been pushing it off.
Yeah, you got to schedule it again so it'll make you study. If not, you're going to BS to study you.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, even if I study, I just don't know if I feel ready. Like, it's a lot. I really want to get one of the other ones, but because I started going down this path, I'm kind of like, I don't say stuck because I can still do what I want to do, but I kind of feel like I got to finish this out before I do something else.
Yeah, two of my coworkers, I think they did the CISSP boot camp this week. I don't really believe in a week boot camp. That's too much. That's overload on the brain. Because I talked to him briefly. It's like, man, my brain is fried. I was like, I don't learn like that. I take my time and I do self-learning. I learn betterly like that. I think I had like some couple last things for you as far as, so some of my friends that are women that are in tech, they've noticed like, interviews aren't too hard. From the interviews you have been in, I can't remember me and you talked about it or not, but did they grill you in your interviews, or were your interviews kind of like, regular in between?
I had both. I had a mixture of feeling like, what are y'all really trying to ask? It's just like maybe like they have like the weed out courses. It's like they just have like a weed out interview type thing. Like they just go through the motions. Not any direct question. Doesn't seem like it applies to any project or. Anyways, yeah, it was some of those, but then it was some that went like really good. So I've had a mixture of both.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, hopefully nobody from work watching this, but I did some interviews recently, and been pretty good. I encourage everybody, whether you're not looking for a job or not, to keep like maybe do 2 or 3 interviews like a year just to stay sharp, because what you figure out is what you're either good on or what you're rusty on, and what they're looking for to keep on progressing. Because if not, then it's like interviewing, like people don't believe, but interviewing is like a skill within itself.
Yeah, it is.
I became a professional interviewer in like 2018, like literally, like even for virtual things, like I have something like this right in front of me. So every like interview, they'll see, oh yeah, that's how I work for. Oops. But they'll see me pop this out, and I start writing like notes, so I can either send a follow-up or just help me. Like if they ask me a question, I write it down, I'm looking at it, visualizing it, and I can answer it. So that's a tip right there. Take a little notebook with you, become prepared. You might be like one of the only people that do that, and you'll stand out. It might be something that kind of puts you over the hump when it comes to
it's the little thing.
Fact. It is. It's definitely the little things that help you stick out at work. And you know, a lot of times people be hating, but I mean, hey, just do you. I forgot what advice we gave them when it came to like you got the job now. What I know you gave some of the same steps you gave. I think I told people just to work hard, make a name for yourself, ask questions, try to solve problems, identify problems. Don't be scared to speak your mind. You know, of course, articulate it good. Don't be like, man, what y'all doing? You know, kind of formulate things. Like, you know, I told people like in YouTube and things like that. Like, I got noticed being a person that worked nights. I only worked nights one time. After that, they was like, "No, we need you on days because you're valuable." And that was the way I intended for it to go. I was like, I'm not going. I volunteered for it just because I think. Yeah, I volunteered for nights because I was finishing up my last semester of grad school, so it worked out perfectly to where I could do my homework and work and do my classes and not have to worry about that. So it worked out perfectly. But all the while, I was like, yeah, I know it's this, and this, because we took over for another MSSP, and I was like, yeah, this ain't it, this ain't it, this ain't it. I see why they fired y'all. And that's what made it fun too. Like literally on my resume, I put on one of my notable highlights. I said, you know, which I really don't know what our maturity level is, but it still looks good to say, you know, help a SOC reach the maturity level of 3. Because we're not a 5. It's super hard to get to a 5. It takes like 5 to like 10 years to maybe get to a maturity level like that, because it takes continuity to have like a real, you know, fine-tuned machine. But just little stuff like that help you stick out, you know, on your resume. Do you have any resume tips you want to add for the people? I remember earlier you said, you know, try to stick out, but like, for example, I got my resume professionally done like this going on 3 years ago. And so now I try to like quantitate like stuff that I've done within my job. So you can actually put a number on kind of the things that you did. It's hard to do because you're not a lot of times keeping track of it, but if you can, that's perfect. So I like to kind of give a brief summary of my jobs and then kind of tell them what I accomplished within the roles. Kind of, you know, it's real quick and to the point. I don't really. One of the things I hate that I've been noticing with resumes, I've been overlooking resumes that even resume writers been doing for people. They've been making people stuff too wordy, and it's some people who don't even have the most experience. I'm like, who they have you trying to impress?
They're just trying to fill the white space. That's what it boiled down to.
But some resume writers don't know when you make somebody resume like that, it makes the person interviewing them like perceive that this person, you know, is probably like trying to be super smart, and may lead to them getting grilled on the interview because they perceive them being wordsy and knowing all these big words and stuff. I'm like, just keep the summary to the point. Don't try to overdo it, and let your personality show when you sell yourself in the interview.
I think another random tip in the formatting, and that will help with the white space, is use tables. Like people forget that those tables exist, but that way, you know, if you have like a list of things, you can have one on one side and the other one on this side. So that way you have it shorter instead of just longer, and then you got all this white space on this side. But also I do like sections. So it just kind of breaks it up. So it's easier to read. So, you know, if you have a whole bunch of words, if your eye doesn't focus to any one place, you could just get lost in the whole thing. But when you have it sectioned and broken out, you know, very clearly to read, they want to look at your experience. They go here. You know, if they want to look at your summary or your objective, whatever you have at the beginning to show your passion of what you're wanting to do, then, you know, that all stands out versus it just being a whole paragraph of a page and one page. Even as a professional, like I update my resume every year, just with things that I've done. Like Henry said, like just trying to get as much metrics as I can in there. But I'm at a point where I went to 2 pages and I was like, no, I gotta cut back. So even in my own experience, which I have a lot, like it's not about how much you know, but it's about how you can word it to make it more appealing to the person reading it.
And see, and that's where I'm gonna disagree with you at on the one page, because you got so much experience, you really don't want to cramp it in, because you're at the point, like I normally say one page should be for people like no experience, maybe 1 to 3 years of experience, maybe. And then after that, if you keep on getting different jobs or, you know, your responsibilities, you know, become more, then you can have like probably 2 pages, because this is a big thread. One of my connections on LinkedIn, who's what is she? CIO or she's something, but she was in agreement, like, the 1-page resume is like, kind of dead, because some people are literally trying to cram small font, to make 1 page, and it's unreadable.
I don't know. We can agree to disagree, because I think it has its pros and cons. You just have to know how to do it right to make
He want to talk too. What you want to say? What's his name?
Onyx.
Onyx. Okay. How'd you get the name Onyx?
He blackity black.
Okay. See,
like the stone. Onyx.
See, okay. See, no, I used to watch Pokemon, so that's why I thought you named him Onyx.
So people either think about the Pokemon or the strip club. Nobody ever thinks about the gemstone.
Yeah. Whose song?
No, gemstone. The stone.
Oh, gemstone. Yeah. I'm not good with all the gemstones. I don't even know what my birthstone is, honestly. I don't know. I think the last thing we're going to touch on is a LinkedIn. Like, how do you feel about LinkedIn, and how important do you think it is for someone's, professional profile, to be visible for, leaders at companies, recruiters, or you name it. How do you feel about LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important to have your profile out there, visible, so people know what you do, know what you're passionate about. People join my team, or I've joined different teams over the years, and it's just a different way for you to feel like you can connect with people, even people that you're just now meeting, people that you don't know, people that you would like to know. I think it's a really good community. I do think it can be overrated. So, I mean, it's not the end all be all, but I think it's, when you talk about not having your eggs in one basket, that's just another way for somebody to find you. There's recruiters on LinkedIn all the time. Like you said, they in your DMs and your inbox. So they're out there, they're looking for people. And if you have the right buzzwords on your profile, you just might find an opportunity from there. I personally have not, but I'm not opposed to it. I think it has potential. I know I don't utilize it as much as I should or could.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the right, buzzwords, SEO terms works out. For me, I think what's led to like my LinkedIn, I don't want to say prominence, like I'm just, this dude on LinkedIn, but what's helped me out is the last part of the year, I started branding myself. I started speaking my mind about, job searching or things I'm seeing in security or things like that. And also, people see my website, my YouTube, and testimonies, and literally, I don't know what happened or people searching me, but I man, my inbox, like I told somebody, my inbox is bonkers, like no lie. And it's been helping out. So I'll also tell people, one of the major keys also in interviewing is selling yourself. And that's one of the biggest things, that the selling yourself. You could be super smart, but if you lack the confidence, nobody's going to hire you because you're not sure of yourself. Okay, we got a question right here. Let's answer this. I'll let you go first once I show it on the screen.
This is a really good question. What I will say is, feels like too much too soon. So if it's something that you don't feel ready for, don't do it. Because you will regret it at some point in time. And I actually lead these ethical trainings, and just, it's kind of basically helping white people see their privilege and understanding racism and stuff like that. And one woman spoke up about how she felt, in a predominantly male company, she had to change her appearance to get a promotion, to move up the chain in her career. And she did those things. She did what she needed to do, and she got the promotion. And a part of her testimony also was the stuff that she lost along the way to doing that. So before I said what's for you is for you. So if it's something in your heart and in your spirit, you don't feel like it's right, it's too soon. Yeah, the representation is important, but we want representation and succeeding and thriving. You want people to see you in that position and be like, I want to do that. I want to be that. Not like my manager, I don't want to be her. Real life, I don't want her life. I don't want to do what she's doing. I don't want it. But I know that, and I put my foot down. And I tell her that all the time too. I'm like, don't try to groom me to be like you, because I'm just not there. I'm not doing it. So, to your point, it would be good representation for my company for me to do those things that she's doing, to follow that path. But I've never been the type to lose myself for anything, and it damn sure ain't finna happen for no job. So unless my spirit tells me that I can handle it and it's something that I'll do or want to do, then I'm not going to do it. But continue down the path that you're going and continue getting experience, because there might be another opportunity where you can shine and have that representation and be that representation.
Nice reply. I'm gonna give my spin on it. Let me look at the question again. So the question I pose is, first you have to ask yourself, what's the reason you don't feel ready to take it? Is it a confidence thing? Is it like you just don't feel like you'll be good at it, or you really can't do it? Because a lot of times we're in our own head. Like even now for me, I'm now pretty much anything I interview for is like senior level. And some of the stuff that comes with it, even makes, I guess I'm a vet now, makes me a little nervous. And, sometimes I'll second guess myself, am I going to be good at this? Or even the role I'm in now, before I got it, I was kind of like, am I going to do good in this role or whatever? So it's kind of like sometimes one of those things where like, we'll psych our own self out, and you'll have to really just sit down and dig deep, like, do I not want to do this because I don't want to be uncomfortable? Because a lot of times we don't want to be uncomfortable, but I've found out that a lot of times we get the most growth when we're uncomfortable. And that's what kind of you'll figure out what type of person you are. How do you handle trials and tribulation and adversity and something like that? I don't want to say bad, like could make or break you, but it could be like a pivotal point in your career. So I'll say, ask yourself, like maybe jot down like reasons to do it and reasons why, like reasons why you can do it and can't do it, and see which one outweighs it. And if it's something like you really can't, see if the can't stuff is something you can fix, or you just really feel like, hey, maybe it's one of the roles I'm on a short leash. I only got, like for example, one of my favorite movies, Remember the Titans. They told him after the first game, hey, if you lose, you out as coach. And so he didn't know that. So the pressure was on him every week to win every game, because he knew if he lost, he wasn't a coach. So if it's like some underhanded, shorthanded stuff like that, I would say, don't jeopardize yourself like that. But if it just comes to a point where you feel like, you're not ready to take it just because of personal reasons or, kind of fear, try to get past that fear, and get ready for this, because maybe it's a reason that the person or whoever's grooming you for the position sees that you'll be a good fit for it, but you can't see it. Because a lot of times we can see things in other people that they can't see. And you have to be sometimes the one to speak their life into them until they speak the life into themselves and they believe it. So that's my take on it when it comes to that. So I hope that'll help you make a decision on a position.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Do we have any more questions? Anybody in the audience? Let me ask in the chat. Maybe somebody's looking at the chat, because we got 8 people in here. Oops. I'm supposed to be putting this on mute every time I type. That's what I like. When I've been going on mute, I've been typing or clicking on something for the podcast.
I see.
Okay, let's see. He says his main issue is confidence. See, yeah, and that's it, man. That's what it is sometimes, that confidence. But you'll be surprised once you get in that role and kill it. Ain't nobody gonna be able to tell you nothing.
That's true.
I think what helped me was that I got my role, and I got one of my friends on first. And he sent me like, "Hey, yo, you killing it." And then another friend kind of was like, "Dog, you doing your thing." On top of leadership asking about me and people in my company that we're all the same team, but some of our engineers like, dude, they're talking about promoting you. So once I got like that recognition, I was straight. I was like, ain't nothing really much that I'm worried about anymore when it comes to this role.
Yeah, I think recognition is super important because that's what makes you feel valued. That's what makes you want to keep going. So make sure that that's there too. But yeah, if it's a confidence thing, I agree with Henri. Like, you could push past that. And worst case scenario, if you don't like it, you learn something new. You got a different skill out of it. You did something that you thought you couldn't do. And that's pretty pivotal right there.
Right. And in our careers, there will be shortcomings. They happen to everybody. I mean, life is about balance. So everything can't go good. I mean, think about it. I mean, if that's the case, what would life be? I'm pretty sure people get like bored of like everything like good. They probably want some adversity, So, your muscles pretty much only grow when you break them down. I put it like that.
Yeah.
But, if that's going to be, the rest of the questions, I'm going to give you guys the rest of your Friday night. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for my guest right here. Miss, I'm going to just start calling you Miss Mitchell. Miss Mitchell.
That works.
Thank you for being a part of episode 2 of Let's Talk Tech. Do you want to tell everybody where they can follow you at? And also you can let them know about, your podcast that you got, dropping soon.
Yes. So I host my very own podcast called Elevated Suites Radio. And I'm in my 2nd season, and it's really about my lock journey. So I got my little baby locks in, just starting my journey. So it's pretty much that transformation, because anybody who's ever had locks or thought about locks, there's a whole science behind it. Prior to me even locking my hair, and definitely since I started. So that's that. And then on Instagram and Twitter, you can find me at Elevated Suites. ELEVATED SWEETS. And that's me.
Let me put this on there for him real quick.
It's been fun. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, anytime. Well, guys, appreciate everything that you do. You know what to do. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, share with your friends and family, and tune in. This episode will be on the podcast on Anchor Monday morning, 8 a.m.